Today we're going to be discussing how 7 inmates from a Texas prison escaped and did a rampage of crime. Let's go back to the year 2000. This is when this prison escape happened. This happened in Connally, Texas. It's kind of a remote town. The closest major city is San Antonio, which is about an hour away from Connally, Texas. The prison was named the John B. Connally Prison, and this was a prison that held serious offenders. This is the kind of place you go to if you committed murder, rape, you know what I mean. You do hard time at this prison. It's in a remote location for a reason. They don't want people to escape. The escape took place on December 13th of 2000. There were 7 people that escaped. Joseph Christopher Garcia, Randy Ethan Halprin, Larry James Harper, Patrick Henry Murphy Jr., Donald Keith Newberry, George Angel Revias Jr., Michael Anthony Rodriguez. 30-year-old George Rivas was the ringleader of this, and based on my research, this escape, it was only about 2 weeks in the making. There was not months and months of planning behind this. I'm sure each prisoner came up with its own, probably had ideas and thoughts run through their mind of how they would escape, but this was a relatively new conceived idea of an official plan for them to escape. All of these 7 inmates were facing lengthy prison sentences. Some of them were facing life in prison. So many of these inmates felt there was really nothing to lose. So basically what ended up happening was the inmates had access to the woodworking facility, the maintenance facility where there was lots of tools. Each person may have had a slightly different role than what I'm generally describing, but this is kind of the main point. They lured the correctional staff into the maintenance facility. Once they got in there, they basically ambushed them, attacked them. They were able to use their key to kind of get more of the more extreme power tools and the more powerful tools. They kidnapped, beat up, knocked out several penitentiary employees. It was around 10. They put them in the maintenance facility. Then they built a covering for the back of a pickup truck. There was a maintenance truck that they also used to escape. So they built just a basic elevated truck bed from a tower. It would just look like the back of the truck, and they were able to paint it all real fast because they had access to tools. Then one of the guys goes over to the guard tower wearing the clothes of the prison employee he just subdued. He was able to go up to the guard tower, and he was able to kidnap the employee up there, and he was eventually able to open the prison gate. There was also an office at the bottom of the tower where another inmate went over there with the same thing. They were impersonating an employee, and they were able to kidnap him. And what they did worked. They were able to get out of the prison facility. They were just able to drive away. Not only that, they also stole guns and supplies. They also took weapons from the prison staff with them as they escaped prison. Many of them were shocked at work, but it did work. They were able to get out of prison, and they had space. They gained space away from the prison. This group was also quite religious. I believe all of them were religious, and they actually believed God was helping them escape prison. So that's an interesting component to this. One of the inmates, their father actually also provided them a getaway car as well on the outside. The father who helped them escape was named Raul Rodriguez. He was the father of Michael Rodriguez. For his actions, Raul Rodriguez was sentenced to 10 years in prison and given a $20,000 fine. In a strange twist, though, it appears he only served 5 months in prison and then was released. Here's this article from the Denver Post explaining more information about it. So they had a getaway car, but they didn't have a lot of money. So they were just they realized they had to rob a store to get more money. So they went to a Ashram Sporting Goods in San Antonio on December 24th. Basically, what ended up happening was they went in and it was like they had guns there. They stole guns and they were able to get away with $70,000 robbing that store. One of the members of this escapee group had a lot of experience with robberies, and he had robbed that same sporting goods store before, so he had experience with that. They went during closing. They were able to distract. They had some kind of like missing person sign that they were able to get everyone to the front of the store, and all the employees went over there, and then bang, they robbed them. They got away with $70,000 and more weapons. There was a problem, though. There was a police officer who was called to the scene to investigate the robbery. Someone saw something going on outside that looked suspicious. The police officer came. His name was Officer Aubrey Hawkins. He tried to stop... Well, he basically pulled up on scene and was essentially assassinated. He was assassinated immediately when he made contact with the Texas 7. They shot him, they had weapons, and they even drove over his body, and they killed him. They were willing to kill a police officer to protect their freedom, and they got away with it, escaped the police presence from there. When they killed Officer Hawkins, though, this became a more national story. They killed a police officer on Christmas Eve. This is going to be all over national news, and this is when it became a national story and gained far more notoriety. The group made it to Colorado and were hiding out there in a trailer park. They claimed they were Christian missionaries. It was odd to see 6 guys there from a varying amount of age range to be living together, but that's how they proclaimed themselves. Later in January of 2001, though, they were featured on America's Most Wanted, and that's how they were eventually caught. The owner of the trailer park noticed them, and he had worked with the police to kind of keep them in place. The FBI moved in on them, and so basically what ended up happening, they caught 2 guys in the trailer. They caught one of the guys in the trailer. He just walked out. The other guy committed suicide. So now we're down to Texas 6. One guy committed suicide instead of being captured. The other 3 guys were... Some of the other members were in a car. They left the trailer park that morning just driving around, and they were stopped in a traffic stop. FBI, SWAT swarmed in on them. The SWAT police swarmed in on them, and they all gave up and were arrested. And then there were 2 other guys, part of the Texas 7, who split off from the group. They were most likely concerned and didn't like what was going on there, especially after Officer Hawkins was killed, and they were caught at a hotel nearby. So 6 out of the 7 Texas 7 were caught. They were on the run for around 40 days, which is quite a feat to be able to evade law enforcement that long. Basically, what ended up happening to all these guys, they were all sentenced to death for the prison escape, the robbery, and the killing of a law enforcement officer. They were all basically tried equally for the same... They were all equally charged with the same set of crimes, essentially. As of 2023, 4 out of the 6 of the remaining Texas 7 have been executed by the state of Texas. There are 2 others who are still awaiting, who still have appeals going on, but they have been sentenced to death. The leader, George Revias, he has been executed. And that really is everything with this case. It's a real fascinating case of how 7 people came together and escaped prison. Obviously, condolences to Officer Hawkins and all the other victims. They could have killed more people in the prison escape. They really beat a lot of these prison workers up severely, and that they could have killed them as well. and no one to my knowledge had significant injuries from that assault. But yeah, they could have died themselves, the prison employees. This is a very unusual escape. Most of the time the escapes we see are 1 or 2 people, but 7 people, and they stayed out over a month. And it's a very interesting story. It's a tragic story, but I'm here to bring you true crime content, and that kind of wraps everything up for today. Subscribe to Crime for more true crime stories. Thank you.